Hello and welcome. You're listening to Season 3 of the Hypotheticals podcast. I'm Adriano.
I'm Andy, and this week's episode is sponsored by Beyond Brains. Meet the zombies of tomorrow, today. Adriano, I have been thinking about a zombie apocalypse. Nothing to do with what's going on at the moment.
No, but it's good to plan ahead.
It is good to plan ahead. And I was thinking, it is quite a tired genre, but what are some more unusual ways that you could survive in a zombie apocalypse that maybe people haven't thought about?
Now this is a true challenge because this is I don't know about you, but this was kind of a pastime among like teens of my acquaintance, or youths generally would amuse themselves by speculating about how they might survive. And in a way, I think it's kind of a personality litmus test. You know those things where it's like, your house is on fire, like what's the one thing that you save? And then people sort of judge you based on your response, like,
I saved the zombies! You gotta
That's
get them out
the
there.
correct answer, but not everyone gets it. Because there is a certain personality type, and here we're in, it's kind of the Venn diagram, I think, with we did a previous episode on doomsday preppers. Mm-hmm. And you get the people who are clearly very hungry for it, like
for human flesh.
Arguably, or just for a zombie-like scenario.
Yeah, so that they can kind of prove their survival skills and how hard they are.
Exactly. Yeah, like they're they want the guns, they want the go bag, they're just ready for that. That's their fantasy. There's a lot of media for them, after all. So yeah, this is the kind of thing. Have you done a lot of speculating about this? Was this a topic with your friends?
Yeah, I seem to remember there was a person at university who would talk about it quite a lot. Partly because he was diabetic, so he had a lot of thoughts about exactly what he would do in a zombie apocalypse.
Oh yeah, that's
because obviously he's got to preserve his supply of insulin. So he was like, right, I've got to go to this like medical lab where they'll have a stockpile, and I've got to like hole up. So it got quite involved. But then there's all. For me, it was like people broadly divided into like people who went into, massive survival mode and were like, I've got guns and everything, and people who just like, to be honest, just kill me now. Like,
yes.
If there's a zombie apocalypse, I do not want to live in that world, which is fair enough, I think. I probably would fall somewhere in the middle of that camp.
Yes.
Maybe with one of my ideas from this segment.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that may as well give a couple of things a try, maybe, but then, yeah, I mean, because the thing is, what kind of world are you trying to survive for, ultimately? It depends on the type of apocalypse, I guess.
Yeah, the degrees of apocalypse, as far as you can have degrees of total world destruction, I guess.
That's true. But, if, have you seen I Am Legend, for example?
Yes.
Right.
That poor dog.
Oh my god, don't even. Don't even. But, yeah, he's in a situation where he feels, like, responsible for the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I can fix it, sort of thing. And so that's kind of special circumstances. If you're just, like, a randomer, and good luck. But anyway, that's not the point of the segment. The point of the segment is, how would you survive? So on the assumption that you want to live, Andy, that's the key here. And I guess my first thought is you get the people who are very ready to fight for their lives against the zombie tide, and it's so adversarial. And I wonder, do we need to take it to that place? Would the easiest thing perhaps be to find a way to blend in? Just, it's a radical new lifestyle, to be sure. It's a significant shift, but it doesn't pay to be too stuck in your ways. The flexible survive changing social structures. And if you need to develop a taste for human flesh, that's just the price of entry into this brave new world.
Just become a zombie? Is that your strategy? Or just pretend to be a zombie but acting exactly like a zombie?
I'm curious about whether that's possible, yeah. And I guess with all of this, it's going to come down to exactly what type of zombie we're talking about, because they come in different flavours, right?
Vanilla, strawberry.
Yes.
Brains, presumably.
Oh, no, like the hazelnut?
I think I'm kind of picturing the slow zombie, the classic, rather than the fast zombies, which you see in like in I Am Legend, who just like are ridiculous and run about all over the place.
Yes, although they have their own peculiarities because they burn in daylight.
Yes.
So he has his own, and they're very scent based, I think, because he's always glugging that stuff around his house so that they can't sniff him out. And he has the big, like, when they raid him, and he has the big lamps that he turns on, the floodlights and all the rest of it. So yeah, you get different flavors. You get the animalistic, like you can spook them with loud noises, or like they don't like light, stuff like that. They hunt in a pack kind of thing. And then you get the kind of just like a slow tide of flesh that is so dumb that they'll walk off a cliff style of zombie. Maybe that's the main two kinds, to be honest. If they're, unstoppable and fast, then I mean, just game over, really. I don't have any plans for that, personally.
No. So, what would blending in with them involve?
Well, with the slow ones, it comes... Actually, to be honest, it might be easier with the fast ones, in that it's kind of like just a...
It's more exciting.
Definitely, like a more interesting life, yeah. But like the I Am Legend ones, and I think I'm in danger of revealing that I Am Legend is like the only piece of zombie media that I have absorbed. Possibly. Let me think about it. I think I saw Shaun of the Dead, but that was a good long while ago. And I've played a bunch of like Left 4 Dead and I think Nazi Sniper Elite Nazi Zombie Army, if that's the correct title. It's just a hodgepodge of keywords. So anyway, yeah, but they basically come in these flavors, so I don't think I'm missing too much, hopefully. But the fast ones in I Am Legend, they're animalistic, right? So they have their tribe, they have their like patriarchal leaders or whatever. I think they're patriarchal, I can't remember. They have their like, their alphas, and it's kind of like a human wolf pack type deal. So figure out a way to get friendly, I mean, people make friends with wolves.
Yes. Yeah, I guess if you could engage in some sort of barter system, like, hey, I can lead you to these people that I don't particularly like, and you can eat them, that could work.
Yeah, or like, I can get you into cans of delicious spam. Like,
I can can you beef. Physically. You can spend your life in a can. Doesn't that sound fun?
For the low price of $19.95, or now. But yeah, you could do things for, like we've got skills that your average zombie doesn't, and it's about trying to... like you've got to bridge that social gap, because they're not going to recognize you as one of their own immediately, but you need to figure out, as with wolves, like what is standing in the way of that understanding. And I don't exactly know how you make friends with wolves. I think it has to do with body language, but possibly like strategic licking of the mouth. I'm kind of making this up. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was the Wolfman documentary, which I cannot really remember, apart from the fact that he was buddies with loads of wolves.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what he did. I just assumed that he sort of gave them a lot of steak.
I think there's more to it. I think that, I have to believe that is a simplistic... I think the dispensation of treats is no doubt important, but I don't think it's all there is to it. I think what separates the neophyte animal whisperer from the true master is how far they've got beyond handing out steak. And I think steak is how you'd get the zombies' attention, but it's not what would keep you in there for the long haul. But if you're smart about it, you might be able to figure it out. And you'd have to adapt based on what type of zombie you're dealing with. Because with the fast ones, I imagine it has to do with not acting like prey and not acting like a threat, like don't fight them immediatly, or maybe you got to puff up, look big, like look like too much of a threat so they don't immediately try and eat you. I don't know, you got to figure that out. I'm not an expert, just
or you could trap one and then learn its ways that way. Maybe nurse it back to health, like people who befriend lions by taking thorns out of their paws.
That's absolutely perfect.
You arrange a scenario where actually you've done it yourself, so that you've injured the zombie, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And then you cure him, and then he's like really grateful to you, and maybe he doesn't immediately eat your brains. And then you start a beautiful friendship.
You've nailed it. We've got a fable about it and everything. That's exactly the right formula. Yeah, capture a zombie, don't kill it, don't vivisect it, whatever. Just remove the injuries you secretly caused, and you're in, mate. Yeah, that would work with the smarter, fast ones. With the slower ones, I think it's much simpler. I think you have to treat them like insects, essentially. Like how do you befriend bees, sort of thing. It's about not behaving like something that they perceive as a threat or as something they want to eat in the zombie case. And I think a lot of it is going to come down to figuring out, like, what is it that they what simplistic like gradients are they following to find prey? Is it a chemical thing? Is it purely scent based? Do they just smell you? Is it sight? Like, could you just, if you wander around on all fours, are they gonna, are you gonna not fit the profile of like running human and they won't chase you down? They're not smart.
Yeah. There was recently a thing in the news about an AI program which was like, it's designed to identify various objects by sight, and they fooled it by, there was a picture of an apple and it said, yeah, I'm confident that's an apple, 97%, and then they just stuck a sticker on it, which on the apple, which said iPad, and it said, this is an iPad.
Nice.
I'm 97% sure.
Yes, well, there is a link
if
there. Apple does make iPads, so I can understand the confusion.
Yeah, but I guess in this scenario, if the zombies are at that level of identification, like, yeah, if you just like lie down, they'll be like, not alive, or not a person, I'm gonna carry on. Or if you just stick a sticker which says brains on like a television or I don't know, on a wall, they'll just start pouring at it like ineffectually.
It's possible.
Just trying to eat it.
Yeah, or just like do zombie makeup on yourself, get that fake blood and everything, and they're like, one of our own. Okay, we don't eat people like us. That's, actually no. I'm just reminded of another zombie thing that I have seen. I'm more cultured than I thought. I've seen World War Z.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen World War Z?
I haven't. I understand the book is slow zombies and the film is fast zombies.
I believe they are fast. There's some impressive visuals. God, I think I want to spoil it, but I'm not gonna. Okay. No, I just realized that like my point hinged on talking about the mechanics of the zombies in World War Z, and that's a spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it, so I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna avoid it.
Well, I was going to talk about, because you mentioned insects, and I was kind of thinking like, army ants, the ones which form these huge columns. I think we've talked about them before, where they can sometimes they get confused and form these like swirling spirals, where they just walk round and round in circles until they all die. So I was thinking that, like, and combine that with a game of Snake. So the game on like old Nokia phones?
Oh yeah.
Where you'd, put this snake around the screen and gradually it gets longer and longer and you've got to just keep going. Do that, but with the entire world's population of zombies. So you've got like, I'm assuming they're slow zombies in this. You've got a car with some people with, maybe you get all the brainiest people in the world, all the top scientists with the most delicious brains, and you just dangle them out of the window of this car. And you just drive very slowly because you don't need to go that fast. And you gradually just gather this trail of zombies, and sort of Pied Piper-esque, you lead them out of the cities, and you go from city to city, town to town, and it just grows, this tail of zombies just shuffling after you. Yeah. You could rotate people in and out in the cars and things like that. So you're not solving the problem, because you're not destroying any of the zombies, but you are removing them from civilization, and maybe you just take them out to, like, the desert, and you just, that's it for the rest of time. You're just leading them in trails around the desert, gathering more, hoping you don't like run into the tail of the zombie. You need to get like the world's best snake players to coordinate this.
They got to be very good.
But yeah,
that's brilliant actually. And you know what? You've nuked me from orbit with the realization that there may be a whole generation at this point who doesn't know what Snake is.
Yeah,
because it used to be so prevalent. It was like there were a million online flash games that were clones of it. It was on everybody's phone, but like we're so far beyond it now.
It was pretty much the only game apart from Solitaire that you could play like on a basic phone or computer.
Yeah, and now I don't even know. What are the kids today doing? Fortnite. It's not like Snake at all.
I guess.
You'd have to explain Snake to them in Fortnite terms, and I can't even begin. Like there's no loot crates.
I don't speak the language.
It's a mess. No, it can't be done. But listen, that's a fantastic visual, and I'm almost distressed in that I think I've found an easy solution. Right. All you got to do is you get those brainiacs that you've been using as bait in a hot air balloon or whatever, and just drift off over a cliff, and the zombos just keep walking, right?
Zombos.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess so.
They're not smart in this context, right? Like the slow ones will do that, I think.
I guess it depends how resilient they are.
Well, you could figure something out, like if they're stupid enough to lemming-like, and lemmings don't actually do this, and I'm sorry. And one day we're going to stop being racist against lemmings, but that day is not today. If they're not dumb enough to just walk straight off the cliff, then, as you say, I mean, lead them into a desert, and then just vroom, vroom, like, hightail it out of there. You've got to find a way to, like, conceal yourself at that point, I guess, so that they, because with no prey, they just stop, right, and hang about until something stimulates them. If you led them all into the Sahara and then just
I guess
went,
also with the Sahara, the thing is like it's so hot.
they're just desiccate.
I mean, the smell would be awful, like truly awful. But yeah,
Yes.
they would sort of cook.
Yeah, and then get covered in sand eventually. Like the wind changes, like
Yeah,
stuck in the
yeah.
middle of a desert is, I think, the optimal place for a zombie horde. Unless you can get them to Antarctica, but like, how? You'd have to build a bridge. That's a whole different thing.
This sounds like the plot to a sort of alien film, like where you go to another planet and you're like, a totally deserted planet, and then you're like, let's start mining in the desert, and you like excavate the sand dunes and you find zombies, like alien zombies, and they're just like, we're reactivated from our dormant state, and they kill everyone.
That'd be such a fun... Yeah, it's true. Like, most zombie fiction seems to focus on the moment of the outbreak. That's the first idea I've heard where it's like, yeah, this planet used to have a zombie plague, and they solved it in a temporary form by kind of like what we're doing with nuclear waste. Bury it real deep and just hope nobody wants to know what's in that concrete bunker in 10,000 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just assume nobody's going to go poking around in the desert. Hope for the best.
Yeah. What other ideas do you have then?
Well, yeah, I like the idea of baiting them. See, I was thinking more in terms of repelling them. Like, the makeup might be enough if you don't look like them. It's my suspicion that they operate generally on a... Like, I think in some settings they lean more in one direction than another. I'm remembering now that The Girl with All the Gifts is a zombie book that I've read, and that's awesome. So, you know what? I know more about zombies than I thought. I was selling myself short. And they're very scent-based there. But there's some visual as well, and some auditory. So I feel like those are the main three, right? They're not using like touch to find you.
No, yeah.
But yeah, so you've got to not smell like a zombie, not look like a zombie. And the noise thing, like, it's very common that like, you step on a twig and, the heads snap up and now they're coming. But I don't know what because like they can't be reacting to every noise like that. Every bit of crumbling masonry sends them into a feeding frenzy.
They're so clumsy. They're like, they'll be stepping on twigs left, right, and centre. Do they always like, their like necks must be really sore from all their head snapping, like,
the
over there.
whiplash.
No, it was just Jerry again. Darn it, Jerry.
Yeah, it's a good thing they're dead and they don't get tired. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because where's the energy going? Now, The Girl with All the Gifts is. Have you read or seen this? I think they made an adaptation.
No, I haven't. I heard it's good though.
I seriously recommend. I've not seen the adaptation. Can't speak for it. Book's amazing. It's really good, and it's not a virus in this. It's do you know cordyceps fungus?
Oh, like which takes over the ants' brains and makes them climb to high places and then like explodes out of them.
That's exactly right. It gave me such heebie-jeebies when I first saw that bit of like the David Attenborough documentary or whatever.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know what this is and wants the heebie-jeebies, look up cordyceps fungus, and it mind controls insects, and it's the creepiest thing in the world. Yeah, so this is a fungus that has like jumped the species barrier, and has found a home in the human bloodstream, basically. And so they're very it hardwires the human nervous system, basically, and most of your faculties are gone, but you retain like a certain amount of visual processing and olfactory processing and auditory processing. So like when there's a noise, they'll be distracted, like they'll look over, but they won't like run over unless there's more triggers, sort of thing. And the strongest trigger is like the scent of human flesh.
Right.
So just like roll around in fox poo or like animal corpse. I don't know, like whatever is uninteresting to them, but like really pungent. Maybe enough like body spray, raid that supermarket.
Oh, yeah, Lynx could be our savior here.
Yeah.
Enough Lynx Africa and we can save the world.
Right, like the amount that like a 13-year-old boy who thinks he's going to be a hit among women, like that quantity of antiperspirant is what we need.
Yeah, where you hold it for like 5 seconds until your armpit is ice cold.
That
should do it.
But like all over, like the general, like the misting, the cloud that some people emerge from. Like the guy in the locker room that gets it out and starts shaking the bottle, and you're like, oh god, I wish I'd gotten changed earlier. Like I need to get out of here. The atmosphere is going to become unbreathable very shortly. I swear there was at least one in my high school.
Do you remember the really quite misogynistic Lynx ads where there'd be a guy spraying himself all over with the deodorant, and then all these scantily clad women would just run at him?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
I do.
You could do a great pastiche of that in this new world where he's spraying himself all over with the body spray, and then there's just a horde of zombies, and they don't care at all.
That's fantastic.
And he just looks really smug.
Or they're all running, right? And you're like, oh god,
Yeah.
he's going to get it. And then it turns out they're chasing some other goon who's wearing the next leading brand. And the guy's just running along with them like, I'm just out for my morning jog. I don't even care. Got my links. Yeah. God, those adverts really were misogynistic.
Yeah, and not that long ago.
No, it's distressing.
Good times.
Social progress. Good thing misogyny will be a thing of the past once the zombies take over. They're pretty indiscriminate, I think. But yeah, body spray.
Yeah, I've had some ideas for if zombies kind of just become part of our world. Like, we harness them and we make them, you know, much like many things humanity has done, we bend it to our will in things it wasn't really designed to do from the first place. So the first is that you could use zombies for power. So, like, in many of these things, there's no real... You don't get a sense of how the zombies are powered. Like, they don't seem to eat enough to keep going. And also they're dead. And also it's like, they're not like they're solar powered. Like, how do they keep moving? So it's like you've got an endlessly renewable energy source in the form of zombies.
Yeah. They just
go. You just hook up a load of zombies to a turbine, and much like a sort of carrot on a stick, you dangle some brains in front of them, and you just have yourself an infinite source of power.
It's true, yeah. If you're able to contain the infection, like if only a few hundred people like get got, then yeah, you're done. Close all the other power plants. Just like a big treadmill.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not limited to power. You can use them as transport. So, like, you know, on horses where they used to attach blinkers so they could only see kind of directly in front of them, they weren't spooked. You kind of do that to a zombie, or even maybe just a blindfold. Maybe. So you like restrict their attention somehow. Yeah, exactly, like a falcon. And so by doing that, you can turn them into great beasts of burden because they never get tired. You could like remove their teeth, like maybe like you would spay a cat. Or maybe just remove their gonads for good measure, just to be safe.
You don't want them breeding; it's gonna get complicated.
Exactly. Yeah, and so in that way you tame them, and even if your pet zombie comes up and gums you, they're not going to spread the infection or do any real damage.
So domesticated zombies.
I mean, yeah, they probably wouldn't be popular as pets because, let's face it, the smell and also the horrifying visage. But you could certainly use them, for if for example, you're at the end of a zombie apocalypse. You don't have many zombies left, but the ones that were there killed all your animals. Like, you don't have any horses or anything left. You're relying on the few zombies that are left to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, you'd have an incredible sort of Victorian Renaissance where like the living creature, like the horse, was the motive power essentially, like around the metropolis. And it's that, except it's just like metal as hell because it's just zombies pulling everyone's buggies and carts and things.
Yeah, motivated by just handfuls of brains. Like, there's a good zombie, and you just like hold up a palm full of pig brain mulch.
Just there's tender cerebellums. Yeah, I guess so. Or like like a haunch of meat on a fishing pole, just like dangling in front of them, endlessly running after it. You could figure out ways, I'm sure. And I mean, even the stench and the horrifying visage, like for large portions of history, people have been accustomed and indeed even happy with the idea of slaves. And I mean, like sometimes slaves that were still slaves but treated reasonably well. Right the way through the spectrum to like servants who were ostensibly happy with what they do. I don't know. Downton Abbey, it's not important. But at the other end of the spectrum, you've got like the poor guys building the pyramids or what have you. And I mean, they're going to be emaciated. They're going to be unhealthy. They probably stink. Like, how far away are we from the undead? I don't know. Like, some of them would have been pretty close to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just saying, people get used to some weird stuff.
But yeah, I was thinking like, we've done power, we've done transport. We could touch on a few old topics that we've done. So let's talk films. So suddenly, zombie films become much cheaper to make because you don't need any actors really for the most of the parts. You don't need any makeup. You don't need any special effects. And so, you might lose a few of your human actors along the way, but it's worth it for the savings on special effects.
Yeah.
And so you can make these huge, sprawling epics because you've got this almost, maybe perhaps a limitless resource. We need some more zombies. Let them loose in. Let them loose in Torquay for a while. Sorry, Torquay. And
Which is
we'll
some
get some
region
more in.
you don't care about.
Yeah, and then we've got some more actors. Brilliant. And you might have some really dedicated method actors like Christian Bale, who might be persuaded to actually become a zombie for the sake of the role.
Yeah.
He's done extreme weight gain, extreme weight loss, all sorts of things. Now, what's the next frontier for Christian Bale? Becoming the undead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's Oscar bait. Like the first actor who does that and is convincing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I liked him before he became a zombie, but the work he's done since has been has been excellent.
And that's what Leo did after all, as we famously discussed in a previous episode. Poor DiCaprio, Oscarless for so long, finally became the Revenant, and there it was. So, tried and tested formula.
Yeah, you've got to do really disgusting stuff to to get those Oscars.
It works.
Yeah.
And
But it is, yeah. So, sorry.
No, I was just going to say you could probably branch out the genre a little bit because, like, the zombie film will become so played, so, like, even more than it is now, overdone, that you'd probably, you'd start branching out into, like it's a Pride and Prejudice style historical romance, but zombies, and, etc. Because they got.
Have you seen Pride and Prejudice and zombies?
Oh god, that's a real thing. I didn't pluck that from my brain at all.
Oh, it is, and it is surprisingly good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not as terrible as it sounds.
What's the dealio there? Like, is it just Pride and Prejudice, but in a what is it?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, it's just like I can't remember a quote from Pride and Prejudice, the really famous one. A man in search of fortune. Man in possession of fortune. Can't speak. A man in possession of a fortune must be in want of a wife. I think that's Pride and Prejudice. So it's that, and then the mansion is attacked by zombies. So
oh, amazing!
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, fine. Well, yeah, then you'd just get more of that. There we go. We're already doing it.
Yeah, and I guess you could like in terms of other films like space films, suddenly you can film kind of aliens like outside in space because they're not going to be affected by being outside in space. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got actors who can now go out there and you just you put makeup on your zombies and turn them into something else.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, doing the makeup is probably a little bit challenging, but you could just spray them with silver paint.
Yeah, spray tan. Strictly Come Dancing would be a lot more fun.
Oh,
especially
yeah.
Especially if the professional dancers were actually human.
Yes.
It becomes an endurance contest for how long you can stop your zombie partner from biting you.
Imagine the amazing new dance crazes we come up with, though. Like, they would go viral on TikTok, let me tell you. Because you'd start off with, like, you'd just be in an armored sort of, like, bear fighting suit. Just to stop them biting. And then, like, eventually, like, the really skilled guys... it becomes more of a matador thing. Like, you don't wear armor to show how macho and capable you are.
Be great for the paso doble, where you're pretending to be a bullfighter.
There we are.
You've got the cape and it's like running at you and you're like, haha.
It's spot on. Yeah. And the cape is just dipped in brains.
Yeah, that would actually be a lot more, I guess... Would it be more ethical? I'm trying to think. Is that a more ethical way of doing bullfighting?
I'm going to say yes, on the grounds that they're already dead and... they're not going to object, I feel.
I guess how dead can you be, though, if you're still walking about? I don't know.
You do have to change the definitions. I mean, death is fuzzy, is my understanding. We like to think of it as a nice, neat binary state, but like if you work in the medical field, then you come to realise that it's like, not so clear-cut. So undeath certainly opens up a whole new uncanny valley, but like bulls are very decidedly on this side of whatever zombies are on the other side of. So I'm still I'm on the side of the bulls here. I think the really difficult thing is that zombies don't just come out of nowhere. Like, it is gonna be people's loved ones and people are gonna recognize them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of also, it's a property thing because, like, I think the family owns the corpse, right? Like, when someone dies? Is that right?
I have no idea, actually.
Well, because corpse snatching is a crime, right? You're not allowed to just... Like, someone owns those. It's theft.
Yeah, but are you stealing it from the state or from the people?
Gosh, I hope it's the people. Because if it's the state and they by default own all corpses, they will find a way to keep hold of all the zombies. And I don't want the government with that much power.
yeah, you get charged for destruction of government property if you kill a zombie.
It's a troubling idea, I think. Yeah. I mean, like, apart from anything else, like the wars that would be fought, the zombie armies, like, I just don't want to go there. I'm happier with the idea of, like, people finding ways to put, you know, Aunt Susan, like, to work in a way that benefits. Like, they're sorry, obviously, that this happened to her. Like, it sucks. But she's happy enough. In a way, it's hard to tell. I don't know. What are you going to do? Like, you either kill her again, go through all that heartbreak, or you let her star in, you know, the next epic blockbuster, Pride and Prejudice with zombies in space.
Just keep adding things.
Just more
and
keywords.
More. Oh.
Nazi zombie army sniper elite in space, Pride and Prejudice.
3.
The Return.
I was also thinking of reality TV as well, which we've also covered. But you could have a TV show, and I've slightly adapted this from, I think Charlie Brooker did a thing. I never saw it. I wanted to, where it was like Big Brother, but there was a zombie outbreak. Can't remember what it was called, but it's a bit like that. So you have a TV show where the whole premise is that there's a group of contestants, but one of them has been bitten by a zombie, and the contestants, or possibly the public, have to try and work out who it is that's been bitten and eliminate them from the group before they change into a zombie and kill the remaining contestants.
Oh, so it's like very accelerated, or is this like a slow burn zombie virus?
This is if it would be like, you know, if it takes a week or something to actually transform.
Right,
yeah.
Okay. That's fun. I like that.
I mean, yeah, it would add an element of terror, which I think is always fun in reality TV.
Yeah, I think that's the conclusion we came to when we were making up reality TV and game shows and stuff, is that, like, insufficient terror in the current setup. There's some,
yes,
but not enough.
Yeah, that's my ideas in terms of incorporating them into our lives.
That's really good. Yeah, I like the idea of and I think Shaun of the Dead ends in such a way, right? Like, they find a way to get them doing minimum wage jobs, like they slot them into society. That's good. You'd run into all kinds of issues, unfortunately, because they'd be a major shift, like all the out of work extras previously, you know, doing all the zombies in the background. Like, if you manage to get them doing minimum wage, like simple jobs, like in Amazon, you know, warehouses, or delivering people's food, because I don't think they have any interest in normal food, right? They might make great Deliveroo drivers.
What more could prepare you for your lovely meal than the stench of rotting human flesh?
You'd figure something out. I don't know. The point is, like, don't underestimate the driving force of capitalism. People want that cheddar, and they will exploit the undead for it.
It's like, the automation, you know, the Industrial Revolution and automation of the kind of early 20th century. You'll have unions rising up against the zombies, like, get them out of the workforce. Yes,
and then it becomes a question of whether they're successful or whether they're like Hermione's SPEW, Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare.
Wellfish welfare.
Welfare of the Welsh. That's what she was concerned with. Yeah, which she was derided for in the books, even though she's literally the only wizard or witch who is anti-slavery, apparently.
Yeah, apparently so.
Anyway, yeah. So you'd have to manage that kind of invasive species element. And in similar vein, I was thinking less socially, but more in terms of species and ecosystem. So if zombies... This is, again, a scenario where maybe they don't take over to the degree that it's, like, just you left, or just you and your family, or, like, what, you know what I mean? Where, like, there are strong new invasive species that you have to manage. Just like the coronavirus hasn't killed everybody, but it's, like, been a big enough new player and on the world stage that we had to, like, sit up and pay attention. So... Yeah, I mean, what do you do? And this is almost entirely born from a recent True Facts video I watched with my fiancé. Are you familiar with these?
Yeah, by Zay Frank, right?
That's the guy. I understand he owns BuzzFeed, which lowers my estimation of him significantly.
Does he own it now? I knew he worked there.
Oh, really? I don't know. He's in some way affiliated with BuzzFeed, and I mean no likey, but that's just me being judgmental. The videos he makes are brilliant. I really like the true facts. Anyway,
what was the most recent one you watched then?
it was about, I can't remember what it was called, but it was about camouflage in the rainforest.
Okay.
And you get all the different kinds. You get the kind where the bugs and stuff try to look like something inedible, just inert, like, oh, you're a bit of bark, you're a leaf, whatever. You get ignored.
Mm-hmm.
You get the ones where they try and look like something toxic. Like that species of frog over there is poisonous. I'm going to look like them. Don't eat me, haha, sort of thing. You get the ones that just look like something like undesirable. One of the ones that blew me away was there's a species of moth or something that it's parasitic to like a specific plant, and it will lay its egg clusters on these plants. But in order to maximize like food for its young and like territory, it doesn't want to lay them where there's already a cluster of eggs of its same species. So they look like these little like yellow blobs, they're eggs, and the plants have started evolving little yellow speckles or like weird frondy to look like the eggs. So they're like, oh, I'm already covered in eggs. Don't lay any eggs on me. I'm already, And that's amazing. And then you get the ones where like there's a caterpillar that looks like a snake, and the butterflies with the fake eyes on their wings so that you go to bite them and they're like, "Pa, no, I have a face on here. Whoa, you're spooked." Didn't expect that. And then that's enough time for them to get away. Or even another favorite, there's a butterfly or a moth with a second, like it's got its head with the antenna at one end, and then on the caboose, on the rear tip of its wings, it has a design that looks like another head with two little wiggly antennae that it can independently move, with the idea being that it's better to be bitten on the bum than the head, and maybe that gives you the extra second you need to escape.
Always, that's just what it's into, is people biting it on the bum.
It's just a kink that's gone way out of hand. It's species wide now. They can't stop. Look, I'm not going to kink shame the bugs. The point is, I think they're onto something. So if zombies are an invasive species and they operate with these like fairly simple triggers, because like we're guilty of this ourselves, we think we're sophisticated creatures, but like I see a caterpillar that flips upside down and suddenly it's got like the head of a snake, I go, "Whoa," and I don't eat the caterpillar in that instant. So it works. And I'm saying zombies, like, they like the smell of human flesh. They like a thing that looks like a running humanoid. The noise thing I'm just going to discount because I think that just gets their attention. Unless they're like drawn to human voices or whatever. That's easy enough. Just like talk through a kazoo, figure something out. But like your look and your scent. So I talked about already like rolling fox doings, whatever, fine, yeah. But your look, what do? Maybe makeup is insufficient, but like maybe, and this is my fiance's idea, maybe you can just like everyone wears the same color, like everyone wears high-vis vests or whatever, like the wasps do or the frogs or whatever. Bad for the individual because you're going to stand out, terrible camouflage, you get it, but then they feel terrible afterwards, right? You've got to also find a way to make yourself toxic to the zombie. But like you don't have to do that forever, so even if it's arduous or difficult or expensive, like you've got to bathe daily in like ridiculous substances, maybe it's really bad for you, give yourself mercury poisoning so then you pass that on, figure it out. Whatever's bad for zombies, do that and wear really obvious clothes, and then some of you are going to get it, but that's the price you pay so that they learn as a species that it's not worth the aggro and they leave everyone else alone.
Yeah, that could work, actually. Oh, although I've just thought as well, you could do this on a more technological scale. So, have you heard about kind of free-roaming cattle? The way that they stop them from just literally just wandering off?
Cattle grids?
That's one way, but if you're like literally in a massive kind of rewilded area and you want to keep them in, without any fences or anything, what they have is their collars, and when they start approaching the limits of the place, it'll give them a mild electric shock after beeping. If they keep going when it starts beeping, it'll give them a little shock. So obviously, they'll get shocked a few times, but then when they hear the beeping, they'll just like, right, I'm going to turn around, and they're fine. So you just have shock collars, or I don't know, what would disincentivize a zombie? I don't know, probably electricity might do it.
It might do, yeah. They'd spasm, and maybe they don't like that.
Yeah, and maybe a finger falls off or something.
Or fire. They hate fire as a rule, so like intense heat.
A little bit of heat, yeah. So you have a heat collar. And so, you're like, fine, you can live in this bit, live in quotes, unlive, whatever.
Whatever it is you guys are doing.
In this area.
Don't ask, don't tell.
But don't come into our town,
Yeah.
you can exist in peace, but not where you're going to literally eat us. So you could have like the bravest people who are remaining would be tasked with like, how you tag wild animals like like eagles or whales. I don't know how you do it with like a dart gun or a ring around the ankle.
Yeah.
You just have people tasked with going out and doing that.
Big old earring. Not gold. Yeah. A big old earring. Not a big gold one. That gets expensive too fast. If only there were a cheaper way.
Yeah, and then you could also track the zombies, so you could tell exactly where they all were.
That's smart. That's good in a scenario where there's like not so many of them. And yes. I don't know if people will be incentivized. Like, I feel like that's hundreds of years in the future when we've decided that they're an extant form of life that deserves some rights and all. You know what I mean? That's after the unions have prevailed and there's been like the equal rights movement. Initially, people would just do that for personal profit because that's a great way of like training them, corralling them, using them to pull your wagons and all the rest of it. But that's very helpful. And actually, yeah, what can we find that is unpleasant that doesn't rely on them being tagged in the first place so that you can administer it? Like, can they... Because in I Am Legend, they don't like light. They're easily burned. That's nice and easy. Your slow zombies tend to appear impervious, but maybe we just haven't like... Because people in the movies and stuff are often in such a frenzy. They don't properly run the tests. Maybe there's a genre of music they really don't like. Or something that will like, because you can really irritate dogs with a noise of the right pitch, say. Like, what is there that's different about their biology that makes them vulnerable?
We found one song that the zombies absolutely cannot stand, and it is One Step Beyond by Madness. And so the entire world is just a constant loop of One Step Beyond by Madness. And everyone is going literally insane, but they aren't being eaten by zombies, so it's fine.
I haven't heard this song, I don't think, and
What?
I may have done, but I'm frightened to look it up because I know two other songs by Madness, Baggy Trousers and House of Fun, and they're the catchiest things in the world.
Oh, please look up One Step Beyond, please.
Oh, please. God, it's such an earworm. They're such earworms, the others. I can only imagine this one is... Okay, maybe that's why the zombies are so afraid of it.
Yeah, it is the kind of song where you could use it as torture if you just played it on loop. It's a great song, but if that was all you had, you would go mad.
You know what, they're aptly named. I don't know what like bizarre circuitry Madness tapped into, but like they figured out like the mathematics of the human psyche. Those songs just drill right in. That's amazing. Okay, corralling them, bombarding them with like music and stuff. Using camouflage or the opposite of camo, also good. Now, here's another thing. They may be easier to disorient and confuse than we previously thought. Like, if you put a bit of thought and some resources into it. Like, do they understand mirrors? Right? Because only your smarter animals do, is my understanding. So, like, what happens if you site your base at the center of a mirror maze?
I guess the disadvantage would be one zombie might wander in and you're like, a horde of zombies. We're under attack. And it's just one.
You need special training. It would make it hard to know how many we're approaching. That's true. But maybe like mirror suits, like stuff to confuse, like break up that outline and just not look like an edible thing.
Yeah.
Because they're weird in that they want to eat things that look like themselves but behave differently. So the distinction is quite fine. It must be possible to mess with that.
And yeah, if they can just see a sort of moving mass of shimmering light, they're not going to think, time for food.
Right? Probably fall to their knees. It's time for the zombie rapture or whatever. Like, it's going to confuse the hell out of him.
Yeah, all these little glimpses of parts of zombies. It's like, what is this thing?
Like the zombie. We just follow it to the promised land. Brains.
And then you run off a cliff.
Yeah, well, you gotta do what you gotta do. I have a couple of much sillier ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But, I feel like this is a safe space.
Yeah. Oh, tell the group. There's no ideas. Wait, all ideas are good ideas. I was about to say no ideas are good ideas, but that is probably true for the podcast.
That's our new tagline. Okay. So, Andy, you know about science.
I've heard of it.
When birds mimic each other, what is the purpose there? Like, what are parrots for?
What are parrots for?
Do you have any idea? Like, that tactic, Because, like, my understanding is that the dawn chorus is just a load of birds yelling, like, "This is my tree! I'm over here! Have sex with me!" Like, it's just like dominance, territory, mating calls, right? And they need it to be like distinctive, like I am this species, I am this individual, like that's the message being conveyed. So what is up when a bird mimics another bird's call?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure actually. I wonder if it's something to do with the degree with which they're able to mimic it is itself like a sign of their potential as a mate. I don't know.
I hadn't considered that, but it's brilliant. It's like people's propensity to like sleep with literature professors or whatever. Like they demonstrate how above it all they are and how like critical of it all and just subversive and ironic, and all of that is very attractive. Okay.
Yeah. Parrots are the original observational comedians.
They've got it all. They're the world's satirists. Yeah, like this guy sounds like
have
this.
You ever noticed? Yeah, have you ever noticed how this sounds like this? But they distilled it right down to the core, which is just them making the noise.
Yeah, it's a deadpan delivery. Like it's that perfect. Like you can't tell whether they're joking or not, which means that they're the smartest.
A dead parrot delivery.
Yes, exactly. No wonder that sketch was so popular. Okay, well, look, I hadn't thought of that. My assumption was that the parrot's aim is to confuse.
Okay.
Can you similarly, like, maybe that messes with other birds that are trying to be territorial? Because, like, now the noise is coming from over there. I don't know I have no idea why that would be beneficial, Andy. I have no idea whatsoever, but I did write it down. Can you similarly confuse zombies? Are they social? Like, you snap a twig and they all come running? That seems unrealistic. They can't go chasing every twig. But, like, when they all start groaning a particular groan, like, is that, like, the there's food groan? Do they dance for each other as bees do? Are they just reliant on, like, observing other zombies running and being like, I will now follow, Because, like, those guys at the back of the zombie crowd, they didn't see you. They saw the other zombies going for it and decided to sprint after them, right?
You've got watch over this this massive crowd of zombies through your binoculars, and you're like, my God, one's salsaing. We gotta get out of here. They're onto us.
Yes, exactly. And the point is, if they did indeed communicate through the medium of salsa, then there will be ways to confuse with, like, say, I don't know, something as simple as a scarecrow animated by the wind might throw off their signaling, right? Or blasting, like, groans of different frequencies in different locations out of speakers, or, like, mimicking zombie behavior with, like, carefully trained professionals to, like, tell them, no, food is the other way.
Or you just release a flock of parrots.
The most confusing.
Like how there's all the, is it cockatoos in London, which now live in all the parks? All the little green
parakeets. Yes, they're great.
Parakeets, that's it. And so yeah, you just make this species endemic to every, wreak havoc on the ecosystem. But I think the zombies have probably done that already.
Probably.
And yeah, they just confuse the hell out of them because they just repeat everything they say back to them.
Yeah, and I mean that's going to madden them. Again, they don't sleep, so there's no escape from the madness. Psychological warfare might be like the great untapped reservoir of tactics to foil the simple zombie.
Do you want to make a zombie insane? Is that a good idea?
I want to make a zombie depressed because I feel like the main problem is that they're active. If we could just make them lie down and accept death.
That's what they need. They need counselling.
I mean, really, don't we all?
Well, true.
So, yeah, that might be the optimum. Just deploying, like, an army of empathic... It's like a situation where, there's been these programs to, like, defund the police by instead starting with like trained mental health professionals and stuff, and they send those,
yeah,
and they've turned out to be quite successful. Like, go figure, like armed, macho, aggressive people whose job it is to break up like, riots and fight bad guys are not necessarily well trained in situations where people are distressed and upset. And zombies are, if nothing else, upset. I think so. Yeah, maybe again we've looped back to fighting them as the first instinct is probably not the way to go.
Although, having said that, I have now got an image of like riot police and all the techniques they use against a horde of zombies would actually be quite effective. Like a water cannon against zombies, that would obliterate them. Like, they just fall apart.
If they're quite ragged by this point, I suppose. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a tear gas, possibly less so. I don't know if they breathe.
Less so.
Yeah. But yeah, water cannon, like, that's an inexpensive way to manage a horde. Yeah, so there's like, if you did want to declare open war, but that's the kind of thing people already speculate about, like digging the trenches, planting the mines, the fire. It's whatever, if you like.
Okay. Well, speaking of birds,
yes, much better. Now we're in hypotheticals territory. Speaking of birds,
so I want to instigate a breeding program not of parrots but of vultures. So why put yourself in danger when you can improve the population of some endangered species and have them wage war on zombies at the same time?
That's perfect. Yeah, they smell like their food. They are just, absolutely.
Vultures are the zombies to zombies. Like, they just eat them for no apparent... to the zombies, like, why do you keep eating us? We haven't done anything to you.
Yeah.
And the vulture's like, you are just food. So, there's no real way that the zombies could defend themselves. They're too kind of clumsy, I think. And they're just a prime target, right?
I think so, yeah. I mean, an attack from the air by like a swarm of eagle-eyed, unstoppable, like razor-beaked zombie-devouring machines. And a vulture is quite large, isn't it? Like the wingspan, they'll buffet you.
You can get some really large ones, yeah.
That I had not considered that. That's absolutely perfect. You wouldn't even need to train them. They go after the stench of dead flesh. Like, it's ideal.
Yeah.
It's just there's a bunch of carrion. Like, here you go.
And, like, one thing they don't often talk about is the cleanup operation. Like, you're waging war on millions of zombies. Who cleans that up?
Right.
Like, we just leave them all there? So, like, in this scenario, not a problem, because they dispose of it themselves.
Yeah, then it's just the bones to deal with, and that's easier, drier, more hygienic. That's fantastic. Honestly, I'm floored. My next idea is going to sound doubly silly.
Okay. I'm ready for double silly.
We talked about deploying counselors or empaths of some kind, but what about just, like, figuring things out from their perspective? And this might work in a situation where they have integrated a bit more in our society. Their diet of preference, like brains, extremely fatty tissue as I understand it. Can we get zombie dietitians to advise against this fad diet? It's not varied, it's not sustainable, and it's not healthy.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
What would they advise instead? I guess you could have, obviously at the moment there's the rise of the vegan meat products, so like the Beyond Burger and all the ones which, like, it replicates the texture and taste of meat, but it's all made out of plants.
Yeah.
You just need that, so you get the Beyond company or whatever to work on instead of a burger, the perfect human brain.
Beyond brains, it alliterates, it's perfect. I love it already. I'll try it. That sounds great.
Beyond brains would be brilliant.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then you just feed that to your zombie population, and they're perfectly happy.
Right. It's optimal.
Healthier, and for you and for them.
And it leads to a whole new genre, because we have the vegetarian vampire as a staple of our supernatural romance fiction. And not vegetarian in literally, but like the animals, not humans, which is vegetarianism to a vampire, right? So, yeah, vegan zombies, like, are as yet unexplored targets of lust. And I think there's a deep well. Listen.
It wouldn't be quite the same as Twilight, would it? Because the whole time Bella's like, Edward, please turn me into a zombie. Please. Not a zombie, sorry. That's what I was getting to. Please turn me into a vampire. Please.
Yes.
I so want to be like super strength and super beautiful and like I can run everywhere. And he's like, oh, I don't want to. And then eventually, obviously, spoilers, she does. In a zombie one, it's like, oh, I so want to be a zombie. Please, I want my arm to fall off and I want my face to be all rotting.
Now listen, you're selling them short. First of all, Stephanie Meyer took some liberties because, I mean, Edward sparkles, right?
Yes.
Many vampires historically, I mean, look at Nosferatu. The original Count Dracula had hairy palms and was like a weird, crusty old spider guy who crawled around the walls. Like, you know, they haven't always been your sexy, sleek, modern vampire.
Well, you know, standards of beauty have changed over time, Adriano, and I don't think it's fair for you to say that they weren't attractive.
Well, okay, but standards of beauty change is exactly the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
So, A, we could get used to zombies as they are. Or B, zombies don't always have to look like the zombies of today. I mean, modern day vampires don't look like the vampires of latter year, and I can picture like a sparkly, well preserved undead to, you know, make teen girls' hearts throb. I don't know.
You've just given me a great slogan for the Beyond Brains campaign ad, which is Beyond Brains, the zombies of tomorrow, today.
Nice. I can picture the guy with the thumbs up on the cover, just like a succulent brain in one hand and just a grin, ting on his teeth. Fantastic. He loves it. Well, look, speaking of brains, I want to throw this out there because it's the best idea. And again, I have to credit Fedra with this. I didn't have it, but it was an extension of wearing high-vis clothing and teaching the zombies that, like, you are just, you know, full to the brim with mercury or arsenic or whatever you've been dosing yourself with. What if instead, and here, this assumes that you're the guy in the lab, right? You're I Am Legend or whatever. Clone yourself a bunch of times, but make the clones brainless, right? Or, like, with as little as, you know, teach them that way. And that way you don't have to sacrifice, like, yourself or your family members. Like, can we...
Oh, I see. So you're teaching them that, like, they're like, it's like when you unwrap a Christmas present and it looks really good and then it's like, I don't know, a jumper that you didn't want.
Exactly. And your child has learned a valuable lesson, not to hope.
Exactly. We can teach the zombies that.
Yeah. We just got to apply, because they are unborn, whatever it is, with a very basic primal drive to seek and consume that which looks like a human. And we just need to subvert that, basically. And then they'll be fine. They'll go after the cows or whatever. Something we care about less, presumably. Hopefully. Maybe we can, like, you know, maybe there's species that need thinning out, actually. Maybe we can, like, direct them. They're simple creatures, and it should be possible with enough clones to, you know, manipulate these basic triggers. Do they have any predators that we could... Because, you know, like, whoops, we introduced rabbits to Australia. Now they're everywhere, breeding, like, wouldn't you know it, rabbits. Or, like, you know, what do we do now? Okay, bring foxes over. Did they do this? I don't know. I don't want to give them any ideas because I think that, you know, you just end up with an escalation. Then you need something that eats foxes. Is there something that eats zombies, though? Vultures.
Well, in the UK, there's the debate at the moment about rewilding, like reintroducing species which used to live here until we killed them all. And for some reason, putting them back is a massive deal.
Bring back the wolves, you cowards.
Exactly. There's wolves. There's lynx, which doesn't even eat livestock that much. But like, yeah, if you bring back wolves, you bring back bears. Suddenly, there's a real reason to restore these species because, like, hey, we need something to eat all the zombies. Right. What better than a grizzly bear or like a brown bear that could take one on?
Did we have bears, Andy?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And boar, and what? At one point we had elephants. I don't think anyone's proposing that we bring back elephants.
Hang on, seriously? What in the I guess when there was a land bridge across the channel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and when it was a lot warmer, I think.
Yeah, I'll bet. Wowzers.
Yeah, this is a complete tangent, but one of the reasons that you know, like some of our trees, they coppice them, so like they cut them right back to the base, and then they grow again. Yep. One of the arguments for why we have trees that do that is because that there were elephants. So, like, the elephants would knock down trees a lot, so they'd need to be able to regrow from very, you know, being completely decimated by elephants.
I love that we are here busy indulging a tree's kink, essentially, that got foisted on it by elephants millions of years ago. Like, that's amazing. And that's the level of artistry and thought that needs to go into managing this new invasive species. Yeah, I think the vulture thing hits the nail on the head. I was picturing something armored, like an armadillo, like a really determined armadillo or something, just impervious to the bites, but somehow hungry for that zombie flesh. But I think vultures will do it.
Yeah, or in the UK it could be red kites. They had a big resurgence, and you often see them eating carrion that's been hit on, they follow motorways basically, their distribution. It's really weird because they just eat all the roadkill. So yeah, just replace roadkill with zombies. Jobs are good.
I think that's it. I think you've absolutely nailed it. This real rewilding program. We don't even need to exterminate them all. It can be done naturally, without the use of chemicals. There doesn't need to be a big panic about it. We just need to get on the same page and be smart.
Bring back sharks, that'll sort it out.
bring back the great British land shark. That's what we've been missing all these years.
That was the Hypotheticals podcast. Adriano, where can people find us online?
We're all over the place, Andy.
Oh, we're everywhere.
That's right. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search for Hypotheticals. That is Hypotheticals, the weird way we spell it, but without the R.
Yes, and if you would like to leave us a rating on a podcast app of your choice, be that Acast, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever they may be, may take some digging, but if you could leave us a 5-star rating, it would mean that we would get more than at least 5 listeners.
We would love you so, so much. And please, why not tell a friend who might enjoy listening to our dulcet tones. And we will see you next time.
Bye!
Father Abraham had
Had 7 sons.
Had 7 sons, had Father Abraham. And he never laughed, ha-ha, and he never cried, boo-hoo. And they spent all day doing this. Why did we slow down?
I don't know.
We were both trying to get in sequence with each other and compensate for the delay, I think.
All day doing this.
Oh, fan-bloody-tastic.
So, have you ever seen the video where basically they've set up a squirrel catapult?
Oh yeah, into a lake, right?
I don't know whether it's a bird feeder. Yes, and so but it's designed so that when a squirrel goes on it, it just absolutely fires it miles.
The one I've seen, they land in a lake and then they swim for shore. If you've seen another one where they just get flung indiscriminately,
they just get flung into a wood, they just disappear.
Oh my God. I feel so bad, but it is so funny to look at. It's like a Looney Tunes cartoon, and I really hope they're not suffering because I just want to enjoy it, but I bet they are.
I feel sorry for the squirrel, but equally the visual is amazing.
It's so good. They're so quick. Just pew, goodbye.
So yeah, that was my idea. You just have a big pile of brains and a big catapult.
That's good. I like that.
And then I had a cruise ship. So I quite like the idea that a load of pensioners came back from a cruise to find that the country has been taken over by zombies. So they just start sailing the high seas and basically become pirates.
You know what? I'd really like that. Yes, I want the perpetual cruise ship as the only survivors.
Yeah. OAPs, old age pirates.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, everyone else, all the millennials, God, I hate them. All these uppity younger generations, completely demolished, and it's just the greatest generation. Just
maybe they're slightly less appealing to zombies because if they're going a little bit senile, the brain's starting to go.
Oh, they can smell that.
Maybe zombies are I want something a little fresher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe they can just go about their business, like golf, whatever. It's fine.
They love it because they don't have all these pesky whippersnappers running around anymore.